I'm not sure what it needs to be better at, but State of Decay could easily be my favorite zombie game if it was just better in some ways. Now that right there, that is everything. That's it. I often find myself alone, thinking about what the future will hold, thinking about what will State of Decay 3 look like. State of Decay 3 has the most potential out of any survival sandbox open world RPG game to come before to be the absolute best. With the passion and care Undead Labs is known for, they didn't just run with the money from State of Decay 2, but stuck with it and made it how much better it is today. Now with Xbox directly backing them up like they have been with development and publishing from the beginning, we're set. We are set. They will make it work. It is time. Since Xbox's acquisition of Undead Labs, have there been some supposed oopsies? Toxic work environments, sexism, bullying, burnout, a forced announced trailer on Xbox's part to raise hopes for the future of Xbox investors and all that? The little founder of Undead Labs leaving a few years ago? Maybe. Yeah. But that doesn't matter. Xbox did not just drop whatever million V-Bucks on Undead Labs for State of Decay 3 to be a shit show. Whatever it is, it'll work. Hopefully. Simple and arcadey systems. It's what makes State of Decay State of Decay. After all, the game did literally release on something called Xbox Live Arcade. State of Decay is its own arcadey thing, at least so far. Did State of Decay 2 build on this idea? Absolutely, right? But still, the game's got its own arcadey limits. I really don't know if that's something State of Decay strives to be or not, rather, failing to be like, or even want to be the ultimate apocalyptic, ultimate replayable online simulator, or something the State of Decay never tried to be in the first place, or at least from the start. With that said, State of Decay's systems somewhat lack in the realms of replayability, its simplistic design. There's only so much that tends to happen. These iconic systems, after all, were only steps towards one greater project that is not State of Decay, which Undead Labs is about to make reality. This is Jeff. Back in 2009, Jeff wanted this, a massive multiplayer open world zombie survival game. Little did Jeff know some guy demon steals idea a couple years later and literally create exactly that. But in order to do that, he needed a foundation. So he came up with the simple idea of starting off with something smaller, which resulted in this. Despite this showing up, Jeff still stated that State of Decay 1 was just the start of Undead Labs' long-term ambitions, where 4 years later, this showed up. 3 years later, Jeff left the empire he created, but on his way out stated that State of Decay's ultimate vision was left in good hands, where just maybe 6 years later, the fan base slowly created throughout these decades might just see Jeff's initial set out vision after all. An MMO. The first time I read that might be happening, I was disappointed, not gonna lie, and I guess I wasn't the only one. Though there are some people that seem to be excited for and have wanted this, and they've clearly had time to think about it. They've clearly had time to realize that a State of Decay MMO would honestly be kinda cool. There's everything that suggests this is happening, let alone Xbox buying and ultimately investing in Undead Labs, a sign that they like their plans. What's better than and more reassuring than an MMO? Multiplayer stuff keeps people buying. It's the perfect formula of a good business plan and enjoyment. Online games do well. If I say the word MMO, you immediately think of World of Warcraft, and we're really looking at doing something very different from that. We wanted to distill it down to its very essence. We now call it an online world game. I guess the good news, best circumstance, and at least what I think is going to happen, we might get this MMO as a side dish along with a true State of Decay 3. After all, the game is called State of Decay 3 and not Z-Night, State of Unknown or something like that. Also, Undead Labs is supposedly working on 2 games right now, and with the size of the studio now, collaborations and backing of Xbox, there's also that. State of Decay 3's graphics will be beautiful. This is definitely a focus of State of Decay 3 and clearly was with the second game as well. The music of the game will be insane. Now we don't know if Jesper Kid will return or not, but he cooked so hard with the last games, but the music is greater than it has any right to be. I guess the only question here would be whether or not the sound of the music will change. Like with State of Decay 1 and 2, we had that distinct tune present throughout both, that atmosphere. So yeah, those are pretty much State of Decay givens. You get a State of Decay game, you at least get graphics, music, atmosphere, and player world connection. Now, the systems of the game. As iconic and a part of State of Decay as they've been, if State of Decay really wants to take that next step, they need to break that chain and go full on. Something that's always been bad, the character animation. It's one of Undead Labs' focuses for State of Decay 3. Because of this, I'm looking forward to a light story in the game. You know, what they did with both past games, a more open, free mode, and then a story. As stated before, the general idea of it looking like past games, just a lot better and more replayable, is there. You throw in an actual multiplayer system, resource system, and get rid of the base system, and instead have to craft the base up from scratch if you wanted to. There'd have to be some item you craft to declare your base so that the community system also works. Larger communities near base with NPCs, better vehicle customization and more vehicle variety, weather, and boom! State of Decay 3. State of Decay's base and game systems and how they don't go in depth at all with things like gardening, cooking, the workshop, crafting, resources, I feel like work really well with what the game is right now. Simple, straightforward, and boom, like a strong zombie survival with simple systems. But if State of Decay 3 really wants to be the best zombie survival game of all time, it should definitely dive deeper into those things to a degree. It's just funny because the perfect State of Decay literally looks exactly like State of Decay 2, just bigger and better, with more variety, different systems, and a better multiplayer. Ladies and gentlemen, only time will truly tell what State of Decay 3 ends up looking like. With that said, for the next 5 more years, I and hopefully we all will be here waiting, doing what we do best. Oh my god!